3D design students, today we're going to be talking about your first unit project, which is going to be using hand building techniques, exploring natural forms. You're going to create a set of 3 hand-built mini projects, and when I say mini projects, I just mean I don't want them to be super big for the sake of finishing them in a reasonable amount of time. And it's going to explore a natural form of your choice. You can see this example here that I have of a set of 3 draped slabs exploring fall leaf forms. So you're going to essentially be creating 3 pieces that explore one natural form of your choice. You have this paper currently in front of you if you're with me in class. If you're not in class with me, you'll be seeing this tomorrow. This is a paper exploring and talking about all the things that we've already done. So you've already draped slabs, made relief tiles, you've constructed multiple slabs with the slab boxes, you've created coils in the blending mode and in the decoration form. In the decorating column, you've impressed things into clay, you've carved using relief, you've used sgraffito with the engobe. You've also used all 3 different types of glazing. The only thing we haven't talked about yet is decorative and functional, and we'll look at that in a second. So basically, you're going to be picking a form of hand building, a form of decorating, and deciding what type of project you're going to make. Right. Let's just review quickly all the things that we've done already. So this is an example of draped slabs, and this specifically shows a flower form, and the bottom, this was made completely out of the drapes. They draped leaf slabs onto a pre-existing form to create this bowl. Right. So think about which type of hand building technique you preferred to use when we were experimenting in class. Okay. Here's an example of relief tiles. Okay, you could make relief tiles for this project. Multiple construction of slabs. So here's some examples of some nice sets. Those boxes up on the upper left corner, and then those vessels at the bottom. Those were slabs that were used in a more rounded form. Here we have coils. It could be blended or unblended. Decorative coil method. Sorry about the bell. Right. And these show a really awesome decorative form of like underwater and sea creatures, and then the one on the right has like this bird kind of wing coming out of it, which could be exploring some aspects of animal life. And then coil and slab combination isn't something we looked at, but something you could still do, where you would actually maybe create a slab and then decorate it with coils. You could combine slabs and coils in a lot of different ways, but there are some examples of what that is. Okay. So what's decorative and what is functional? It's pretty self-explanatory, but something that's decorative, for example, would be like the examples on the left, where it's a sculptural form that are used for decoration only. And then the one on the right is functional. It's a sculptural form which can not only serve as an art object, but it can also be used for a purpose. So, for example, a birdhouse is used for a purpose. A bird could live in the birdhouse. But other examples would be plates, bowls, things you eat off of, things that actually have a function. Our very first step in creating this project is going to be working in our sketchbook. You also have this paper in front of you. Unless you're at home, you'll have it with you tomorrow. And we're going to go over what I'm expecting in your sketchbook, how you're graded, and where we're going to go from there. All right, guys, so the purpose of these 4 little projects that we've been doing since the beginning of the year was to give you the skills to feel confident in creating a creative-based project, right? So all of these little mini projects required a different skill set, as a different technique was learned for each of them. But essentially, these were my projects that I forced upon you to teach you these skills. And now it is time for you to take what you have learned and apply it in a way that is different and creative and your own ideas, and not something that I've constructed for you. All right, now I'm going to take you through the sketchbook assignment and what is due for the planning part of your first assignment. So again, our first hand building unit project is going to focus on natural forms. So that basically means nature. Okay, this could mean flowers, it could mean animals, plants, it could mean landscapes or natural forms, but it needs to be somewhat specific. You can't just base it on plants. What specific plant? You can't just base it on animals. Give me a specific animal. It could even be narrowed down much tighter than that too. So I've decided for my natural focus is going to be on corn, just because I get to look out at this cornfield every day, and I've grown up with cornfields in my life, so that's going to be my focus. I have like a personal connection to it, as should whatever you choose for your project. So you'll notice that this paper that you have, the very first page of your sketchbook is going to be reference images and research, right? And please notice how my sketchbook looks. I'm expecting your sketchbook to, for whatever natural image or focus that you have, your sketchbook to kind of replicate that. Right? We are in a class that's visual. It's a art class. Even if it is 3D, I want your sketchbooks to be visually pleasing and have an aesthetic quality to it. So part of the requirement for your sketchbook is to make your pages look presentable. Right? So one thing that I love with sketching is using collage or multiple materials. I also love creating flaps, and often I'll do that in my sketchbook. Like I just glued an extra piece of paper so I have more space to work. So I have like a flap that flips up. It's just an option. You can get creative in how you create flaps and cutouts. So think about things like that. If you notice in your box, you have some materials to work with and things that you may take home, and you will have to work on your sketchbook at home if you are doing virtual learning on some days. You have a watercolor set that you may use. You have brushes to go with that watercolor set. You have Sharpies, which is good for taking notes in your sketchbook. And you also have something called Mod Podge, which is great for collaging. So you each have your own individual jar of Mod Podge, so when you're here, you can use it to glue down anything into your sketchbook. This also acts as a perfect glue. All you have to do is get a paintbrush out, paint it on the back of your surface, and it will stick on there. All right, so let's review again. Page 1 is reference images and research. So I'm going to do corn, so I have a lot of reference images of corn here. I'm also planning on creating a set of tiles for my project. I'm going to create 3 tiles. So I also have some reference images of clay impressed tiles that I can reference. I found these on Pinterest. So you can go ahead on your Pinterest boards that you created earlier this year for the various types of materials. Look on there and see what you've pinned and what you may be able to use and print out to put in your sketchbook, right? Everything that I have in here is printed on my color printer. All you have to do is airdrop pictures to me and I will print them for you. I don't expect you to print these at home. I don't expect everybody to have a colored printer. But these are called reference images and research. When I say the word research, I know that can be kind of scary for some people. I'm not talking about you like writing a research paper. I'm talking about you actually researching visually what your focus is going to be for this sketchbook. Okay. So let's take a look at page number 2. All right, page number 2 says sketches of your own, including notes, dimensions, and color palette. So here is where you're going to actually take your reference material and your research and show me what you're actually going to make here. All right, you can see I have dimensions laid out that I wrote down on a separate piece of paper and just glued on. And then I actually have cut out what my tiles are going to look like. Here's my color palette. Here are my dimensions. So for my idea, I have this long piece of wood that I found on the beach. And what I want to do is create 3 tiles that I'm going to screw or nail into this wood. And I'm going to impress the corn stalk into those 3 tiles, which is going to be set up like this. I'm going to go out to the field out there, outside the window, pick a corn stalk to make my impressions, and that will be my 3 pieces that make up my set. right? So I want to see you do something completely different. Please do not use my same idea. You can use any type of hand building that you want. I don't want to see everybody making tiles. Use whatever method you preferred when we did our 4 technique work. Okay, page 3 is in progress images. This will be done as we work on your project. So I don't actually have a sample to show you of page 3. Page 3 is kind of like a process board where we'll take pictures as we work on it and post like 4 pictures in our sketchbook that shows us the process. So that's not something you have to worry about now. That's something that we'll do by the end of your project. We'll have 4 pictures that show the process of your sketchbook or of your project in progress. So that is the sketching process. Okay, I don't expect you all to be like super great drawers or anything. Most of this is just layout, having some sort of interesting background. That could be watercolor, marker, anything, collage, having reference images printed out and put in, and then showing me a concrete idea that shows dimensions, color palette, how things are going to be set up. If you're doing a project that is more 3-dimensional, like a quail pot, I'd want to see what it looks like from all sides. So you might want to give me a sketch from the front. What does it look like from the back? Maybe a bird's eye view as well. Right? So that is really the basis of our first project. And what we're going to start working on now is getting ideas down in our sketchbook. What natural form do we want to focus on? And then what are we actually going to make? We're going to go from that point.